These are the Commander cards that are most worth buying for the month of June.
I'm your host, Joe Cherries.
I'm your host, Beezy, and that makes us the Nitpicking Nerds. And if you can't get enough Nitpicking Nerds, even though we have a video every day, on Patreon, we do a video every Saturday. But it's exclusive to patrons, so if you want more Nitpicking Nerds, all you gotta do is go over there and hand us some of your monies, and we'll say, thanks, here's a video.
Yeah, then it would only cost you $2, and you can see a new Nitpicking Nerds video every single week. So if you're a super fan of this channel,
You need it. You need to be on our Patreon.
because that's the only way you could say you've seen every single Nitpicking Nerds
I would
video.
say you can't even call yourself a super fan unless you can see these exclusive videos.
That's true. All right, and if you want to support yourself while supporting the nerds, you can get 5% off your Cool Stuff Inc. orders by using code
Nerds.
And if you use code
Nerds.
then you will get 5% off.
How could we not shout out Dragon Shields? They got the best sleeves in the multiverse.
Good sleeves.
If you want to buy sleeves, why are you not going to Dragon Shield with the EU or US links in our description for easy access and just buying some sleeves for yourself? Re-sleeve that old crusty deck you have. There's like those black little slats on it from all the, the little garbage from like years of play. You should get new sleeves.
Yeah.
Stop using redacted sleeves.
Yeah, new sleeves are a great way to revitalize a deck. And have you ever shuffled new Dragon Shields? Oh my god. Chef's kiss. Chef's kiss. And guess what? There's going to be an ad for Maraschiello somewhere in this video. I'm not going to tell you where. You can guess in the description below. If you get it right, I'll pin your comment because you probably cheated, and I want everyone to see that you cheated.
Yeah, we like to expose the cheaters around here. And happy birthday to everyone whose birthday is today. Birthdays are important.
Yes. Well, let's hop into it. This is the cards most worth buying for the month of June, and it is the year 2023.
Is it?
It is indeed the year 2023.
What does most worth buying mean?
It means it is a card that is going to give you the most bang for your buck in your commander deck. This is not speculation. This is not this card will go up.
It's not even budget.
It's not even budget. These are just cards that if this card is $6, it is going to be $6 good in your deck if you have a deck for it.
Right. We think this card is more than X dollars good. So you should buy one for your decks, not speculate and crash the market.
All right, let's hop right into it. The first one we have here, Generous Patron. 2 and a green for a 1/4. When it enters the battlefield, support 2, which means you can put a +1/+1 counter on 2 different creatures. This can be your creatures or creatures your opponents control.
Why would I do that?
Well, actually, it'd be really good to do that because Generous Patron says whenever you put a +1/+1 counter on a creature you don't control, guess what?
Draw a card?
Draw a card.
It's actually just counter, not even +1s.
Yes, you're right. It is a counter. So this actually has a lot of synergy with random things like my Zyra deck, which puts egg counters on things. Now when I attack and put that egg counter on, yeah, when it dies, I draw. Now I draw when I put it on because of Generous Patron.
Yawgmoth puts -1 counters, and you sack a creature to draw a card and then draw a card?
Yeah, Proliferate is absurd. If you have, let's say, there's +1/+1 counters on like 4 of your opponent's creatures, every single instance of proliferating there is going to draw you a card. It'll be 4 cards.
In high-power decks, it's not absurd to imagine the scenario of turn 3 or 4, Generous Patron, draw 2 cards. Because it basically draws 2 cards every time. 2 counters on my opponent's creatures is nothing. I'll just take the cards, please. Then Evolution Sage next turn and like fetch land. And you're just draw 4 more cards.
This card is just incredibly, incredibly strong. No matter what kind of counters you're putting on your opponent's creatures, you'll be drawing cards. And there's so many that don't matter actually when you proliferate them. For example, go back to Zyra, those egg counters. When I put an egg counter on, I draw a card. If I proliferate that egg counter, the second egg counter doesn't have any effect, really. But it will draw me a card with Generous Patron.
Yeah, super, super good. You know another way to put counters on your opponent's creatures? It's got to be Archfiend of Ifnir. $2 for a 5-mana 5/4. It's got cycling for 2, but you probably want to play it because it says whenever you cycle or discard a card, all your opponent's creatures get a -1 counter on them. Not only is that like off the charts good with Generous Patron, but in a Madness discard deck, kind of unbeatable as long as it's in play. Very similar to Dictate of Erebos or Grave Pact, where if Archfiend is in play, your opponents can't play creatures, which is pretty powerful.
Yeah, this card is absurdly powerful. For $2, I mean, all that matters is building around it, right? If your deck is built in a way that will take advantage of this card becomes one of the best cards in your deck. It's either, there's 2 modes of Archfiend. It shouldn't be in your deck, or it's the best card in your deck. There really is no in-between.
Yeah, and it even gets around hexproof and indestructible. There's like nothing this thing can't do, really.
I will say one thing about this card that's worth mentioning for players that play for fun, which is a lot of players, not a fun Magic card to play against at all. So take that into consideration if you play with a group of friends all the time. Make sure your play group's not miserable because this card can be miserable. We were just playing $20 budget and got held hostage to a card that can be very similar to this. Butcher of Malakir.
Yeah, well, I said it was like Dictate and Grave Pact, and Butcher is just another one.
Yeah, but that's the budget version.
Yeah, that's the budget bad version. Yeah, anyway, Archfiend is really, really good. You should probably buy it for $2. Atraxa Praetor's Voice. Thought I'd never say this is $15. It's not $72 anymore because it's a Multiverse Legend reprint, and it's Woo Bug for a 4/4. It's got Flying, Death Touch, Vigilance, Lifelink, End Step. You proliferate. People went nuts for this card. They love it. Still love it. But I think if you were like holding back on it, which was reasonable, $15 is way fairer than 70.
So let's be completely fair and honest. This is only if you're going to play it as your commander. If you're looking to build an Atraxa deck, or you had like a proxy Atraxa because Atraxa was so expensive you weren't buying it, this is now the time to get it. $15 at a very reasonable price for a very popular and beloved commander. It's what is it? It's the most popular commander.
It's the most popular commander of all time.
It's one of, if not the most.
It's the number one.
It's ridiculous. This card is not only been like the most popular commander forever, like it's either been 1, 2, or 3
I'm pretty
for
sure
like the last 10 years.
It's from like 2017. And it's just held number one spot. So you can actually get one for a real price now.
Yeah, this card is and I mean, obviously it's a very strong commander. It's also super unique. What I love about this card is that for some reason it's already got a really strong ability, and then it's just got 4 keywords to go with it.
It's just a good creature, and then the ability's pretty good.
All right, let's move on to Clever Concealment. Now, we've been saying this card is good since it was released, but it had a little spike in the beginning where it was up to like $15, $16. Well, how about $7? It is much more worth it there.
Buy one, get one free sale.
This is a way to protect your board without having to hold up any mana, because this spell is 2 white, and then you can phase out any number of target creatures or any number of creatures. I don't know if it targets any number of creatures you control, but it's got Convoke, meaning you can just tap 4 creatures as long as you have 2 white creatures, pay those white pips, and this card is for free.
Yes, and it feels like if you're buy one, get one freeing this card and casting it for free half the time, that just feels like kismet. It feels like maybe you need to go buy this card because it's going to be really good. It's one of the best versions of this. A lot of decks were playing like Lae'zel's Acrobatics or Eerie Interlude when they didn't have a ton of ways to take advantage of it. So if you don't care about blinking, just phase them out. It's better.
Yeah, exactly. I would agree. It is better if you don't care about specifically blinking your creatures. This card is very, very strong. And the fact that it can be cast for 0 mana in a lot of situations in a lot of different board states makes it that much stronger.
Let's go to a pricier card of the 99. This is Cryptolith Rite, which has crept up to $14 over the years. It makes your creatures tap for any color of mana, and it only costs 2 mana as an enchantment. So if you're going wide, making a bunch of little dudes that don't really have anything to do, this gives them something to do, and then you can play more dudes.
Yeah, exactly. You go super wide. It turns all of your non-mana dorks into mana dorks. Every single creature you play is now a mana dork, whether it's a 7/7 for 7 or a 1/1 for 1, or it's a couple of tokens you make. All of them will be able to make mana. So this is just an absurd way to kind of just ramp out of control, where it's like, I use mana to make creatures, and I use creatures to make mana. Well, you see where we're going here.
I've generated a loop, you see.
You've generated a nice loop.
Yeah, it's going to power out a bunch of busted stuff, and $14, it seems high to me personally, because I remember this card in Standard was like $2-3. It's $14 good, like we said before.
For sure. I mean, I don't even think it's like debatable. This card is very good. When you have the decks that want to play this card, it's another one where it's like, it either doesn't belong in your deck, or it's one of the best cards in your deck because it's so strong.
Yeah, let's go to a less pricey card. Prismari Command is only $3, but I think what it does is pretty darn good. Target player draws 2, discards 2, shatter something, deal 2 damage, or make a treasure token, and it's only 1 blue, red for an instant. So it covers a lot of bases. It's usually a 2 for 1 if you want it to be, or at least a 1.5 for 1. And it's kind of stapley where it doesn't ask anything of you. It's just going to remove targets that are always in play like an artifact. It's $3.
Yeah, I think the most important part about this card, it's very cheap, it's very good. Find a little bit of synergy. That's what it's all about. If you like discarding cards, the loot effect becomes very good.
Treasure.
If the treasure has synergy in your deck, making tokens, that has synergy. Find something little about this card that your deck wants to do, and now it's a free roll. Get in your deck immediately because the card is just generically very strong.
What else is strong? I mean, what's the next card on our list?
Next card on our list is Seasoned Dungeoneer, currently $2. And honestly, this card is one of the best ways in Commander, I think, to take the initiative. It is incredibly strong. All right, so this is 3 and a white for a 3/4 creature. When it enters, you take the initiative, which that's a whole thing. If you want the initiative, very strong and very fun to add to games. It is very similar to the Monarch mechanics. Super fun to do. But whenever you attack a party member, the warrior, cleric, wizard, and rogue, one of those 4 gets protection from creatures, and it explores, which means you reveal the top card of your library. If it's a land, put it into your hand. Otherwise, put a +1/+1 counter on your creature, and then you can choose to put it in the graveyard or leave it on top.
Yeah, the word explore has a lot of rules text baggage. It's not even the wordiest part of this.
It's so fun.
You got to read the Undercity.
Yeah, there's a lot to this card. But what this card really says is it is a warrior itself.
So who cares what else you have on your deck?
Exactly. You don't have to build around this. You don't have to be a party deck because this thing will give itself protection from creatures, meaning it can't be blocked, meaning you can reclaim the initiative in attacks, and that's what makes this so strong.
Unlike the Monarchy, taking the initiative is better every time you do it.
It's super strong. Like Seasoned Engineer, I think, is the best way to be doing it in Commander. There's other like strong cards. I think there's lots of strong initiative cards. This is the one, and it's only $2.
And if you want your decks to run rampant on the games of Commander you play, well, I'm thinking Rampant Rejuvenator is probably a good spec at $2. It's a 4-mana 0/0, enters with 2 counters. When it dies, you get basic lands untapped onto the battlefield for each counter on it. It already starts with 2, so if you can sack it, it's a better explosive vegetation. It's like a Sky Shroud claim because they come in untapped. And the ceiling is way higher than that.
Yeah, exactly. You can put more counters on it. If you're playing Hardened Scales effects, it comes in with extra counters. This card is kind of just silly, secretly strong. You can get a lot of basics out of your deck, and the floor is already super good. I think that decks, I really think that your Fun Character deck should just be playing this card because it's so good in just any character deck. Play it, sack it. Okay, get 2 basics. They come in untapped, super important to this card. Oh, what did I pay? I paid 2 mana to get 2 lands onto the battlefield untapped.
Yes.
That's a strong card.
To be fair, the floor of this card is it's stuck in play and you can't kill it. So you need to make sure you have some kind of synergies or way to kill it.
Agreed. Yeah, you want sack outlets in your deck, like ways for it to die. Henzi is a perfect deck for this card.
High market.
I've also had it. I played in a deck that puts more counters on it. So what's cool about if you make it a big threat with counters is here's this big giant threat that will just keep attacking you. Do you want to just keep having to chump? Because most of the time you don't. So your choice is become kill it or chump it. Make a choice. I'll take either one. If you want to keep wasting creatures on my Rampant Rejuvenator, or if you want to remove it, I'm happy too.
But that also works on blocks. If it's got 3 or 4 counters, do you want to attack that player with Rampant Rejuvenator? They just go block, get 4 lands. That doesn't feel good.
Yeah, exactly. Rampant Rejuvenator, very strong. It's sneakily strong because it looks like another Explosive Vegetations, but they come in untapped.
I would say it's something people need to hear about. Can you think of anything else people need to hear about?
Maraschiello.com, the best deck building website in the entire universe. The Nitpicking Nerds are currently the most followed account on the entire website, so you need to go there. You need to make your own account, and you need to follow us so you can see every single deck that we're currently playing, labeled with BZ's deck or Joe Cherry's deck, depending on whose deck it actually is.
Yeah, we got to widen that followers gap. Let's get to 10,000. We're striving to be the first 5-digit account because we use Moxfield every day. And it's actually just amazing. You can use whatever price, range, sorting method you want. I think if you're not using Moxfield by now, what are you doing?
If you're building decks on the internet, you should be using Moxfield. It's one of the best resources of all time for deck building.
No. Just period. That's it.
Period.
Best resources.
It's one of the best resources of all time for anything.
And it's renewable. You can just refresh the page.
All right, let's move on to a BZ card. This is Currency Converter, currently $3.
Yeah, whenever you discard a card, you can put it under this in exile, and then this taps to kind of filter it from exile back into the graveyard. And if it was a non-land, you get a 2/2, and if it was a land, you get a treasure. This kind of just works in a Madness discard deck like a weird Mana Rock that also can spew out chump blockers. It's really interesting, and it's played pretty well.
Yeah, this card is incredibly interesting. It is one that requires a ton of synergy.
You gotta be full Madness.
Yeah, you have to be full Madness. You have to be full discard cards. You have to be taking advantage of this card in a lot of different ways because ultimately this card, it does ask a lot of you. It says, hey, you better be doing this very specific game plan or I don't do anything.
Yeah, I didn't even read the whole card. It also loots, so it kind of fuels itself, but you really don't want to play it if it's just doing its own, if it's just trying to fuel itself. That would mean you're only getting something every other turn, and you want a 2/2 or a treasure every turn to fully take advantage of it.
Yes. A card that is completely overperformed all the time. This one is ridiculous. Tempt with Discovery, currently $3.
What a steal.
Search your deck for any land. So this is literally any land you want. Often we get Field of the Dead often with it because Field of the Dead's such a strong card. And then each player is given that same choice, but if they take that option, you get to search for another land. So if you take it, and then all of the other 3 players take it, you go and get 4 of any kind of land.
Your best 4.
Your best 4 lands. This card is really, really strong. I think that If players only played optimally and never took fun into consideration, this card would be 4 mana, get your best land to play. Still pretty decent when you have things like Field of the Dead or Maze of Ith for like certain decks. When you have these utility lands, those Nykthoses, still really, really strong, but that's not how Commander works. We don't live in a world where everyone's going to say no every single time. Sometimes the player's mana screwed. Sometimes a player I've played with players who are just like, I'm taking it every single time. I don't care. I'm going to do it. And that makes this card so much stronger because as soon as one person says yes, this card is obscenely strong.
Yeah, 4 mana, get your best land. That's worth $3. You can just look at if you're trying to just play the best cards in your deck, just look at the rest like flavor text, bonus. Sometimes it'll happen. 4 mana, get your best land, and it comes in however the land would come in, so it can come in untapped if you get one of those lands. Technical Discovery just kind of does everything. Tutors are good, turns out.
I cast this in a 6-player game and got 6 lands.
I would have just quit.
It was absurd. I mean,
I'd be like, I'm done.
I didn't end up winning, but I did completely take over the game from that point.
That's no surprise.
All right, let's move on to Grand Abolisher, currently $22. White for a 2/2. Your opponents cannot activate abilities. They can't cast spells. They really can't do anything on your turn.
Yeah, your turn, super safe. And this card has been like $37 or something for a really long time. It's never had a reprint, but it just got reprinted in a secret lair if you didn't know. So you can get a non-foil version for $22 or maybe even less by the time you're watching this because the secret lair like kind of just came out. Maybe the hype is dying down for it and it's even more available. But yeah, Grand Abolisher for $22 is the cheapest it's ever been in the last like decade.
It really is. And Grand Abolisher is a very, very good card. I mean, this is especially cool because this is a CDH card. If you're one of those high power players, you love jamming those CDH games, get yourself a Grand Abolisher right now. This is it's $22 good. I mean, to be fair, it's $34 good. It's probably $40 good. The card is absurdly good when you play it in those high power combo decks.
But you know what I like about this card is it's good in CDH and it's not oppressive outside of CDH. You could just play this in your deck. Like it just lets you do whatever the thing you're trying to do is unimpeded by instants during your turn. It's like if you want to attack with a big commander, Grand Abolisher stopping like a Path to Exile or something. That seems pretty fair to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's also really strong because it makes players do things before your turn or after your turn. It puts them in weird situations where it's like, oh, I wanted to hold this up until right before my turn, but I can't. I have to do it the turn before my turn. It causes a lot of awkward situations because of this strong ability.
Yeah, I think it's just good in general, and I don't think of it. I try not to think of it as an only CDH card because it can be good outside of it.
It's mainly
sees play there because it doesn't like do like anything. It stops things, but sometimes decks want that.
Yeah. All right. Next, Training Grounds, $6 currently, just got reprinted in Aftermath. This card is 1 mana, activated abilities. Oh, guess what? They cost 2 less for your creatures. That is just strong. I mean, Training Grounds is a very, very good card. We've known this for a long time, but this card hasn't been reprinted in a meaningful way in a while.
Yeah, this is the lowest. I never even pictured it going this low in my lifetime.
Yeah, it's very, very good. And if you're playing, I mean, literally any single Thrasios deck, I don't care who you're paired with, this goes in that Thrasios deck. I mean, Thrasios ability at 2 mana is absurd.
I mean, any commander with an activated ability that has at least 2 colorless in it, right?
Kenrith is another great one. There's a lot of great commanders, and sometimes you can just have a deck based around them. I mean, who's another one? Urza. Wow. Look at all of these commanders. They're just begging you to put Training Grounds in your deck. This card is extremely, especially when all the three commanders I just named, they give you card advantage. So like you use this, it doesn't really do that much. Now it gives you that mana advantage to get card advantage. So it's like you didn't even spend anything to do it.
I mean, as soon as you activate one ability with 2 reduction, Training Grounds was -1 mana.
That's true. It gets mana positive very quick.
Yeah, let's go to the next one. It's Goldspan Dragon. It's a 5 mana 4/4 haster. It's got flying, obviously, because it's a dragon, and when it attacks or is targeted with a spell, you get a treasure token, which now makes double mana because it says all your treasures make an additional mana. It's only $10 because it's not standard anymore, so it can't be like this big giant threat.
The first place I want to talk about this, any sort of deck that is taking advantage of treasures, your commander makes treasures, this card goes in right away. It's a great way to make treasures, and doubling all of your treasure mana, taking it from 1 to 2 mana, is extremely strong when your deck is focused around that. Now, you can put this in other decks. It's a dragon, it has dragon synergy, flying synergies. There's a bunch of little spots you can try and find homes for this card, and this card was worth $25, I think, for specifically
the treasure decks.
But $10, now you can start exploring it in other archetypes.
Yeah, we can experiment with it more because I always think about it. It's like, all right, 5 mana 4/4 haste. You swing once. Now you really only spent 3 mana because you got 2 mana stored up. Attack again. you spent like 1 mana and now you're just chipping in 4 damage. It seems cool for combat metas. Let's go to Utopia Sprawl. This is very similar to Wild Growth, which we hype up all the time. It's green for enchantment. You have to enchant a forest, and you pick a color when it enters, and then that forest taps for forest and whatever color you picked. Turns out these cards are amazing, and they're like almost better than Mana Dorks in terms of just reliability and adding mana. People always complain about, I don't want my Mana Dorks getting swept up with board wipes. Well, here you go. Utopia Sprawl and Wild Growth. Seriously, play these cards.
They're very, very good. I mean, Wild Growth would be $5 good, and Utopia Sprawl obviously is $5 good. This is funny to me because this one is almost certainly 100% just an availability thing, because Utopia Sprawl and Wild Growth strength-wise are like even.
I thought Utopia Sprawl was $12 good back when it was still pricey before like a precon reprint. Like, these cards are comparable to like Soul Ring in certain cases where you play them and they're just free the turn you play them, as long as you have another land. You enchant a different land than you tapped, and now it makes the mana that it just spent, and then you just start accruing mana over the rest of the game. It just adds up so fast.
Yeah, I mean, it's not fast mana, but it is. But giving your mana back right away, very, very, very strong.
I mean, let's try this. After the broken fast mana that I'm not talking about, this is the fastest way to make mana, right? Like, Mana Dorks have to untap.
Mana Dorks have to untap. They have to have haste. You have to jump through some sort of hoop to get it right away. So yeah, this is going mana even on the turn you play it is ridiculously good.
Really, really strong. Next is a cycle of lands. Remember Neon Dynasty? We told you to buy all those lands. We're still telling you to buy all those lands, but they're more expensive in basically every case.
Yeah, they are more expensive, but they're still worth it. Let's just start with the first one. Aganjo, Seat of the Empire. Untapped, white land, legendary, doesn't matter. We don't get to play more than one in Commander, so legendary doesn't matter at all, unless you have synergies with that.
Can only be good, right?
Yeah, exactly. Currently, $5. Like we said, these have risen since February last year when they came out. They're going to keep going up until they potentially get a reprint. These cards are untapped. This is a planes with upside in your deck. This one destroys an attacking creature, or deals 4 to an attacking or blocking creature. That's a removal spell in a land slot.
Yes, it's your planes sometimes does something. Now, these don't have the type planes, but there's enough slots in your deck with 35 lands that in 1 and 2 color decks, you never have to worry about, I'm out of basic land slots. I can only play 3 basics in my 2 color deck. That never happens. This will slot in for a planes, and it will be better than a planes.
Yeah, almost all the time. There are going to be situations, like, obviously if you're playing a deck that's built around Emiria, that's different. I could see not playing a Ganjo because you want to have all planes. But most decks will just take an Ganjo over a planes.
And these are the types of lands that help power a 2 color Field of the Dead mana base. I think Field of the Dead on 2 colors is really easy because of lands like these that just, I have plains, I have snow-covered plains, I have a Ganjo. It's like, well, there's 3 lands right there.
Yeah, and next we have Otawara, Soaring City, $14 currently. This card is ridiculous. This one is a bounce spell on a land. Well, it's either a land or a bounce spell. Super strong.
You can save your own stuff. You can stop something in an emergency, and it costs less, just like the rest of them, for your legendary creatures. Takanuma is one of the best ones. It's only $5, so if you have to pick up one, I'd say maybe this is the best deal. You mill 3, it fuels itself, and then you get back a creature. And it doesn't even target, so they can't snipe your creature out of your graveyard before it resolves.
Exactly. It's super awesome. And like, let's just say they have a Scavenging Ooze. They can eat all your creatures out of your graveyard. If you mill one over, they can't respond to that ability. You get one of those new ones back.
You know, with your swamp, the swamp you cut for this land, yeah, that's what you're doing.
The worst of these, Sokinzan, Crucible of Defiance. It's currently $3, and it makes 2 1/1 creatures. This is the one you're going to use the least, but it's still really strong, especially in 1 and 2 color decks where it's just a free roll.
Oh, yeah. No, it's actually just still been great. I've still had plenty of spots where I'm like, oh, yeah, I can make a chump blocker here. Or, oh, I needed some tokens to attack with, and it's like, thanks, not mountain. I'm glad I cut a mountain for you.
Exactly. This isn't exactly, because even though this effect is like, let's just say itty-bitty, it doesn't matter that it's itty-bitty because what did you replace? You replaced mountain.
Yeah, if it was like 5 mana for 1/1/1, that's still better than a mountain.
Yeah, then this last one, $31 strong. Boseiju is ridiculous. It is 1 in a green to destroy a land or an enchantment or an artifact, and they can go get a land with the types. This is removal when you would have had. It's like, that's such a bad removal spell. Yep, it's a terrible removal spell, but it replaced my forest.
It's not even that bad. It's Assassin's Trophy. You just Assassin's Trophy something for like 1 mana because you're always gonna have a legendary creature most games, and then you just feel amazing about yourself because your lands are doubling as spells. These are damned FCs.
And the only thing that we didn't mention that is ridiculously good about all of these is we're playing Commander. There's a legend in our command zone.
They're all not actually what they say they are. I would say on average, they're all one less.
Yeah, exactly. You're going to have your commander on the field most of the time. So these just cost one less. They're absurdly strong. And honestly, Boseiju is worth $31. So take into consideration every other one of these being like as low as $3, they're really worth it.
For the free roll opportunity cost value percentage they give you, absolutely worth it. And if you're wondering what else is worth it, I would say check out last month's video where we said what was most worth buying last month, because a lot of that stuff still applies and you can get a lot of value.
Will be easy. You have to remember that it's now over there because the answer is no. Go check it out. Peace out, Tribe Scouts.